It's Storytime with Sterling. I'm your host, Steve Stifler, here at the studios at the Newberry News office. And we have Sterling McGinn here with us for another Storytime. How are you doing today, Sterling?
I'm good.
Great. So what fascinating information do you have for us this week?
Well, I thought it'd be a good time to remember a few of the old buildings up at the state hospital. I selected two to talk about. I had the article in the Newberry News 2 weeks ago talking about the demolition.
A lot of interest in that place.
Created a lot of interest with that article.
A lot of people have a history, some type of connection with the place too. You know, family members that have worked there, whatnot.
So I'll talk about the amusement hall first. I think that's probably one of my, or at least my favorite building up there, because of it being an auditorium. But anyway, the building was constructed in 1903 and 1904, and it was built to have a place for amusement and entertainment for the patients and for the employees. The amusement hall was officially opened in the spring of 1904, and there was a big, a swell function noted in the Newberry News of April 22nd of 1904. It was a ball given by Medical Superintendent Chamberlain, and at the time the place was known as the UP Hospital, Upper Peninsula Hospital. The ball was held in the new auditorium, and the main auditorium of the building was 80 by 60 feet with a large gallery in the rear, and the large stage had a handsome setting which would do credit to any city opera house. Dr. Chamberlain welcomed each guest upon entering the ball in the amusement building, and they were presented with a very pretty program. Jack Bates, who was the pharmacist, x-ray technician, librarian, photographer up at the state hospital, he had the music for the event was furnished by the Bates Orchestra. The building was used over the years for patient dances and employee dances. Even the old employees had a baseball team, and they even played indoor baseball in that building. There were
you were talking yesterday about the baseball, in that two teams would play indoors, and then afterwards immediately they'd have a dance.
Yeah, I came across an article where the two teams after they cleared out and they had a dance afterwards in the same building. So that building. There were plays, minstrel shows, church services. I know there's pictures of with all the flowers. They had their own greenhouses up there, and so all the flowers that they had for decoration in the amusement hall was from growing right up there at the hospital. And the building was used for many years, and when the hospital closed, the building was boarded up, and it's
sat there for that ever since.
Yeah, ever since, and it's looks like it probably be coming down pretty soon.
Say, if you drive up there now, they have a fence around it and a big old excavator there waiting to take it down.
But it has a long history. It's really sad to see it go, but at least it served a lot of people and.
Over the years,
So the other building I want to briefly talk about is the R.G. Ferguson Receiving Hospital, which was the 298-foot-long building after it was completed in 1934, became the largest building to ever be constructed at the facility. There was $360,000 appropriated by the state to construct the building, and it was authorized by the State Hospital Commission by the agreement of Governor Wilbur Brucker, and the work was started in 1932. The receiving hospital, the Newberry News reported that it would care for 100 patients and be used for the observation of new patients prior to assigning them to more or less permanent quarters at the general hospital. We'll have complete and modern operating room, and we'll have 120 rooms for housing patients, employees, and etc. Building will be fireproof, of steel and brick construction with stone trimming. It is an addition that has been needed and urged for years. That was from the Newbury News. And at the meeting, when it was decided to build the building, R.G. Ferguson, who was he owned Sioux Hardware. He's from the Sioux, and he was reelected the chairman of the State Hospital Commission, and for 25 years he had been connected with hospital matters. He was on the trustee on the Newbury State Hospital Board when each hospital of the state was supervised by a board of trustees. 12 years, and it also stated in the Newbury News that 12 years ago the law was changed so as to place all state hospitals under one board, and Mr. Ferguson was made the board's first chairman.
Okay.
And so when they built the building, they decided to name it the R.G. Ferguson Receiving Hospital in his honor. And in 1934, March 1st of 1934, the building was officially opened. And the Newbury News noted that the building was a handsome structure. The Newbury News, usually when a new building was built, it was always referred to as a handsome structure. It was 4 stories, and like I had mentioned earlier, the building had a capacity of 120 beds, and this would be equipped with all the modern appliances for caring for mentally and physically sick. All the operating and surgical equipment will be contained in the new building. X-ray treatment chambers for light and water therapeutics, rooms for special type of cases. There are 4 to 8 bed wards. Most of the rooms were used were single, which was to permit the better treatment of extremer cases. 14 rooms for very disturbed cases, and with special means of protection for both patients and the attendants. There was an open house held, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Just talk about 2 of the buildings. Originally, when the hospital opened in 1895, there were the first buildings that were constructed was Cottage A, B, and C, an occupational building which also housed the laundry, and a powerhouse was the first buildings constructed. And they had planned to build a quadrangle, which they eventually did. And I think about 1917, the quadrangle was officially completed, the big square, and each building was connected by cloisters.
Now, the Ferguson building, it's still standing. It's going to be coming down here. They say, well, they didn't give us a date, but it was used, I guess, by the prison at one point.
I believe it, if I remember right, it was used for just a short time, and then they closed it up.
They shut it up.
It's a massive building, 298 feet long, 4 stories.
Right.
When you turn onto Charles Road, off of Victory onto Charles Road, that's the first thing you see is Ferguson building, and it's going to take quite a bit of work, I think, to take it down. But
right. It won't come down real quickly, I would imagine.
No, it's sad to see it go, but
right. Well, thanks for sharing some more information on the buildings there at the State Hospital. It is sad to see that is all going to be coming down at some point, but it seems like it's well documented in photos and whatnot.
Well, I'm making sure I can document as much as I can on the buildings, writings, newspaper clippings, photos, just to try to preserve the history of the facility. And I have my dad worked, or he still works there and at the prison, so I have a connection with the place as well. Right. In regard of it, my dad working there for many years, and being as a little kid that going up there, those buildings I always had an interest in those buildings.
Oh, they're beautiful buildings. Because you wouldn't see anything like that built today. It would be so expensive to build something like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'd be a lot of money to build buildings like that.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing the story. And we want to remind people that they can go to our website, mynewburynews.com, or Facebook, or to YouTube to listen to this podcast and to listen to previous podcasts as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with another Storytime with Sterling.